If you're currently deciding on whether or not you should start doing weighted calisthenics because the training that you're doing right now just isn't really fulfilling as you expected it to be, or perhaps you've already been doing weighted calisthenics for some time, but you've slowly lost the passion because you're not seeing the results that you want, just know that I totally understand where you're coming from. And I'll be sharing 3 reasons to why weighted calisthenics athletes are so jacked. Tell me, have you ever wondered why those who train weighted calisthenics look so muscular and jacked? How exactly is it that these calisthenic athletes are able to get so strong, but yet get so muscular? I know I did, at least. And that's exactly what got me into piquing my interest within the weighted calisthenics realm. Curiosity is ultimately what led me to this style of training. At the time, around 2020, so we just take about 5 years ago. Crazy to talk about that. Weighted calisthenics was a very niche and unique style of training that not many people were doing, let alone even heard about. And if you were doing weighted calisthenics, then I'm sure you can attest that at that time, 2020, 2019, those people in the gym would definitely be turning your heads, asking you questions like, yo, how do you get to this point of doing weighted pull-ups? I'm barely doing even 2 to 3 bodyweight pull-ups. And that's personally how I started as a beginner in weighted calisthenics. I wasn't doing much, but I was still turning heads. I was still getting asked some questions regarding the training style. And a few years later, I obviously got much stronger, got much more muscular, and reached levels that I never really imagined to have accomplished, to be honest. And I'm not here to kind of like boast and brag about my accomplishments, but I want to kind of just drive this point home, was the fact that me doing weighted calisthenics is what actually allowed me to not only unlock crazy strength, but with the plus big side of benefit is that it built me like the majority of my muscular physique that I currently have now. And that's the whole reason to why I'm making this video today. So many people were so curious to how I was able to build this physique, especially considering that I always reply to them that, I've primarily used only calisthenics and weighted calisthenics, and they've seen me do primarily calisthenics and weighted calisthenics. So they're kind of just shocked because they never really associated getting bigger and getting that level of strength with just bodyweight training. And that's just to kind of put it simple. Their worldview in order to build muscle was to train exactly like a bodybuilder. Now, I actually want to provide a snippet that comes from Bald Omni-Man's video that talks about the specific topic, where he discusses the benefits of training weighted calisthenics.
I mentioned in the intro that the way calisthenics allow you to push to higher intensities more often, allow you to also, for the average person who's serious about training, they know they have to train hard and often to get bigger. It lets that person get better results, at least better results with Oonga Boonga. I'm just going to do more than I did last time type of training. My last video was all about how to create momentum in your training, and part of that is knowing when to hold back and to pace yourself out. And for newer lifters, it can be harder for them to hold back appropriately while still training hard enough to actually get bigger. And it's still absolutely a skill that you have to learn, which is why I made that video. But all things being equal, your weighted dip, your push-up, your pull-up, you're going to be able to train those with the Oonga Boonga. Just add 5 pounds, bro. Just add a rep every time, bro. What do you mean, bro? Just eat more. You can do that for longer.
Now, I really want y'all to just really digest what he said. And to summarize, number one, weighted calisthenics allows you to train harder for a long period of time. In a sense where if you're coming from just bodyweight calisthenics, you like the approach of keeping your training simple, no crazy complex movements, and you have goals of building muscle and simple strength, then weighted calisthenics allows you to essentially milk the basic calisthenic movements such as the pull-ups, chin-ups, push-ups, and or dips. And there's a ton of advantages because of this particular point. For most people, sticking to very simple and basic movements is a very low barrier to entry for most people that allows them to be able to train the movement correctly with the right amount of intensity and effort. And ultimately, because they are more familiar with the movement, they know how to train till failure, ideally with heavier loads. This is going to help motivate them to continue training the exercise because as humans, we just like to be resorting to our comfort. We like to kind of stick to our routine. So this is why weighted calisthenics is one of the best choices when it comes to, sticking to the basics of training, but still being able to milk out your way of training, of implementing progressive overload and seeing and reaping the benefits of building muscle and also getting stronger. Now, a lot of people, unfortunately, tend to get excited whenever it comes to doing a new movement, doing a new progression, but they never really let that progression or movement just simmer, give the exercise the due diligence, the time that's required to really understand the mechanics, the movement patterns, the mechanical cues, the mental technical cues, all of that good stuff. Like, you need to kind of just let the progression sit in your training routine for some time. But instead, what they do is they test it out for a few weeks and they wonder, why am I not seeing progress? Why is it that I'm not really getting the strength that I wanted or the muscle that I hoped to achieve? And it's simply because you haven't invested enough time and effort towards that specific movement and progression. The second advantage is that an exercise that has a higher loading potential is always going to keep you humbled in your training career. For example, you may feel like you've maxed out on training the potential of your basic calisthenic movements by training over 15 to 20 reps on the pull-ups per set, and it just doesn't seem to cut it anymore. And maybe it didn't even take you that long to achieve that feat. Obviously, one can continue to increase the reps and shoot for 30 or 40 reps per set, but then that starts to exit the realm of hypertrophy specific training and becomes more endurance based training. So the beauty about weighted calisthenics, weighted pull-ups specifically to this matter and topic, is that you have years, levels upon levels to kind of go through before you even get to a point of calling yourself late intermediate or advanced. Like, even me, like, attaining a 180-pound chin-up might seem like a crazy feat that's not really possible for most people. But for me, knowing my context, my surrounding environment of other calisthenic athletes, doing 180 pounds on the weighted chin-ups is something that more advanced athletes can rep for many repetitions, and they make it look very easy. So it's, to them, not that difficult, not that impressive. So what I'm trying to say is weighted calisthenics is truly a journey. If you put in the time, you know how to manage your training correctly, and you're always going to have somebody stronger than you, just to kind of put it out frankly. But that's not what I'm trying to really say. I'm just trying to say that you can really milk out your weighted calisthenics journey and still see so much room to improve, whether it's building muscle, whether it's building more strength. It's like a whole world in itself, to be honest. Like, I know it's a niche based way of training, but it's really much more bigger than that.
I think when you take that bodybuilding form parameter and then you take the fact that you're able to use simpler programming for longer, you take buy-in, the fact that people are excited about doing the lifts because they're fun and they look cool. You get a lot of attention on social media if you have a big way to pull up. I think if you combine all of those things together, it just contributes to something that allows the average person, I'm not talking about at the highest or the lowest level, I'm talking about the average guy who's about intermediate, average genetics, they're going to get better results that way, in my opinion, if they were to include those exercises in their program.
Now, this is a very great statement by the original content creator, Bald Omni Man. But literally, most people who haven't been content with their training results, or perhaps you just got bored, it's simply because you're not incorporating weighted calisthenics into your training routine. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a full-blown weighted calisthenics athlete, but if you just happen to incorporate the main movers within weighted calisthenics, it's never not going to be a bad decision. It's always going to be playing in your favor, matter of fact. Whether you're trying to build muscular physique, whether you're trying to get stronger, whether you're trying to impress people in the gym, if that's really how you want to train. There are so many avenues that weighted calisthenics can help aid in your training, whether it's powerlifting, whether it's combat sporting, whether it's, I don't know, gymnastics, rock climbing. Like, I've actually spoken to so many people saying that how weighted calisthenics just improve their overall personal life, their overall training endeavors that doesn't really require the gym in the traditional sense. So yeah, like, there's so many avenues, and it's never not a bad decision to start doing weighted calisthenics. But I'm curious, for those who are training weighted calisthenics right now, let me know, what are the reasons that got you into this style of training? What simply attracted you towards training weighted calisthenics? And go ahead and list a couple achievements, a couple things that you benefited from, regarding weighted calisthenics. Go ahead and flex your stats. This is the time, and I'll be sure to read and reply to each and every one of them. I hope. But hey, what do I know? If you want to see more content like this, be sure to follow me, man. I'm a tough fitness scout here. No cap.
Cobra Trains, he's up next. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. He's number one out here.
He's the toughest fitness guy out here.